In today's video, I'm going to reveal the invisible mindset the financial elite uses to grow their wealth away from the spotlight, and why adopting this rule could be the biggest turning point in your life. Stay with me until the end, because the final point is exactly what most people ignore, and what destroys wealth the most. The biggest financial trap of the modern world is simple. The more you try to look rich, the further you get from real wealth. The shine of appearances is seductive, but that's exactly what keeps you stuck, because true success doesn't make noise. Maybe you've felt this before. You work, achieve, buy something you've always wanted, but the feeling of freedom doesn't come. Instead, the weight of expectations grows, comparisons, social pressure to keep showing off. And deep down, you know, this is taking you further from the future you actually want. 1. The invisible money rule. Think about this with me. Today, a lot of people confuse wealth with a setting: luxury cars, expensive watches, clothes that scream status. But the real financial elite operates in silence. They know true prosperity lives in the assets no one sees: savings, investments, wealth that grows while you live your life. The book The Millionaire Next Door, a classic study done with hundreds of American millionaires, showed that most of them live below their means. This reveals a powerful mindset pattern. Real wealth is what you keep, not what you show. And here's the psychological point. When you flaunt wealth, you create an emotional dependency on others' attention. You start spending not for your future, but to maintain the narrative you've built. Studies on financial behavior show that decisions driven by social approval are highly likely to be impulsive and irrational. Loud wealth requires constant maintenance, constant time, and constant validation. And the more you spend to look rich, the less real freedom you have. Now here's the practical detail. Truly wealthy people build the habit of paying themselves first. It's not glamour, it's a system. A percentage of their income automatically goes to investments before any spending decisions are made. That takes willpower out of the equation. The University of Toronto published an analysis in 2017 with high-income professionals showing that automating savings increases annual accumulation rates by up to 32%. It's not luck. It's a predictable method that protects both your mindset and your wealth. But there's a side almost no one dares to admit. Flaunting traps you. When you show off wealth, you have to keep showing. And that cycle becomes a drain on your mental and financial energy. Truly rich people understand that every status purchase is a piece of invisible wealth being dissolved. What shines today steals tomorrow's freedom. What grows in silence builds independence. The true mindset shift is adopting the mentality of the silent reserve. This changes your relationship with yourself. Instead of seeking external approval, you think about your future self, the adult who will thank you for every cold decision, every rational choice, and every controlled impulse. This mindset reduces anxiety, increases clarity, and builds internal confidence. The financial elite doesn't measure wealth by what others see, but by what their future will have available. Now I want you to imagine something. Walking into an ordinary place, dressed simply, and no one has any idea what you're worth. And that's your advantage. You're light, invisible, free from pressure and expectations. That sense of autonomy is the psychological foundation that enables smarter decisions and consistent strategies. Quiet wealth isn't about hiding, it's about protecting. It's leading your life without noise, with logic and self-control. And those who understand this rule are already years ahead. 2. Automation and systems, freeing up willpower. Most people think getting rich depends on willpower, but the financial elite knows that's an illusion. Willpower fails, systems don't. Automating your financial decisions creates an invisible infrastructure that works for you every month, even on days when you're tired, stressed, or distracted. That's how high performers avoid the emotional cycle of money. They understand that wealth doesn't come from what you want to do, but from what happens even when you're not paying attention. The first step is simple. Set your money to leave before you touch it. Salary hits, savings go out, you operate with the rest. That's exactly what a 2021 study by the Global Financial Literacy Initiative analyzed with 1,400 middle-income professionals. Those who automated their contributions saved up to 42% more per year without feeling extra effort. It's like installing a more disciplined version of yourself, running in the background. Over time, this automation creates consistency, and consistency builds wealth. Most people live in the earned arrow, spent arrow, regretted arrow, promise to change cycle. Automation breaks this emotional loop because it removes choice. Money meant for the future is no longer a moral decision. It becomes a system rule. Psychologically, this frees up your mind for more strategic decisions because you're no longer fighting yourself every month. There's an even more powerful benefit. When the money leaves before you see it, your brain recalibrates your sense of lifestyle. You naturally start living on less than you earn, without a sense of loss, without internal struggle, without drama. Studies in behavioral economics show this adjustment happens fast because the brain adapts to a new financial reality in 30 to 60 days. That's how many wealthy people live below their means without feeling deprived. And here's a safety point almost no one talks about. During times of emotional stress, burnout, or economic instability, financial decisions become irrational. But when you have an automatic system, it keeps protecting you, even when your mind can't. The system doesn't fear, doesn't feel anxious, doesn't panic. It just runs. It's your silent safety net, working even when you're at your limit. In the end, automation creates a new identity, the identity of someone who doesn't depend on motivation, but on structure. The financial elite doesn't rely on willpower. They rely on mechanisms. Every automatic transfer is a quiet proof of self-control. And when you live inside systems you designed yourself, no matter the chaos around you, you keep growing calmly, logically, and consistently. Prosperity begins when you take the emotional you out of the driver's seat and let the system take the wheel. 3. Think in time, not just money. How much is your time worth? Most people go through life calculating price in dollars, but the financial elite calculates in hours of life. This is the mindset shift that changes everything. When you turn a purchase into how many hours of work this costs, your perception of value instantly changes. Behavioral psychologists call this time reframing, a technique used in U.S. financial education programs to reduce impulsive spending. The wealthy don't ask, "How much does it cost?" They ask, "How much freedom does this take away from me?" Now picture this. You're about to buy something expensive. Before deciding, you pause for 5 seconds and ask yourself, "How many hours did I have to work for this?" That simple pause activates the rational part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, and shuts down the emotional impulse. A University of Michigan study with 612 participants showed that this calculation reduces unnecessary spending by up to 28%. What was once a desire becomes reflection. What was once an impulse becomes strategy. What's even more interesting is the mindset impact. When you value your time more than things, your decisions follow a different logic. You start investing in freedom, not in status. You choose to learn a skill, improve your health, or buy experiences that truly elevate your life. This is how millionaires build a richer routine, not because they have more money, but because they protect the most valuable asset there is, hours that never come back. There's also a social side that few people notice. You've probably seen those quiet neighbors with modest cars, calm lives, no showing off. Often they're the wealthiest people in the neighborhood. They don't buy to impress, they buy to live better. They've already paid off their time debt to themselves. That's why they have the freedom to choose what to do, when to do it, and with whom. True wealth is the absence of unnecessary obligations. When you start calculating your spending in life hours, your priorities naturally realign, not out of guilt, but out of clarity. The question shifts from, can I afford it, to, is it worth my time? This new lens creates a mindset of personal leadership, the same one high-performance executives use for critical decisions. They know money is renewable, time is not. And those who waste time always pay a higher price in the future. At the end of the day, thinking in terms of time is thinking like the elite. It's shifting from a survival mentality to a freedom mentality. Every expense becomes a conscious trade. Every choice becomes a way to protect your energy. You stop reacting to the world and start building a path that makes sense to you. This is the silent logic behind those who truly prosper. Control time before you control money. Because in the game of life, it's always time that determines who really wins. 4. Saying no. Without explanations, protecting your capital and attention. There's a silent pressure few people admit. The pressure to spend socially. Expensive dinners, trips you didn't even want, gifts you didn't need to give. And the most curious part is that this pressure rarely comes from genuine desire. It comes from the fear of disappointing someone. People with quiet wealth understood early on that saying no isn't selfish. It's self-control. It's protecting your focus, your money, and your emotional energy. Low-key millionaires don't justify their no's because they know explaining opens space for negotiation. Let's make this clear. You need a value filter. Before accepting any invitation, purchase, or commitment, ask one simple question. Does this bring me closer to freedom or take me further away from it? This rule works because it turns social decisions into strategic decisions. The brain stops reacting emotionally and starts operating logically. A Stanford University study analyzing 180 high-performance professionals showed that people with clear filters make less impulsive decisions and experience fewer financial regrets. Saying no also strengthens your self-discipline. Because you're not just avoiding a purchase, you're training your brain to choose the long term over immediate approval. This self-control impacts far more than your wallet. It impacts your time, your focus, and your ability to make high-value decisions. Think about leaders you admire. They all know how to turn down things that don't add value. This ability creates silent authority and a natural sense of respect. Now, here's a social aspect most people miss. In the age of social media, a lot of people spend to look good. Life has become a showcase and consumption has turned into performance, but truly wealthy people go against this logic. They turn down the noise. They avoid spending to impress because they know that's the fast track to financial vulnerability. While many scream for status, they build stability. While many show off, they accumulate. What's interesting is that the more you practice saying no without drama, the lighter your life becomes. You realize most expectations were imaginary, not real. Freedom begins the moment you understand you don't need to justify anything. Your goals don't need external approval. Your money doesn't need to fund someone else's insecurity. And your attention can't be wasted on commitments that drain your energy. In the end, saying no isn't about rejecting people. It's about affirming your direction. It's choosing what aligns with your future. It's protecting your most valuable resources: time, focus, and mental clarity. The financial elite doesn't say yes to everything. They say yes only to what matches the future they're building. Once you learn how to do that, your life shifts pace. You step off everyone else's schedule and return to your own. That's how financial, emotional, and mental freedom begin. 5. Safety reserves and real-life funds. The financial elite understands a simple truth. Freedom doesn't come from the money you show. It comes from the money you can access when everything goes wrong. Quietly wealthy people keep a liquidity reserve that no one sees, but that gives them peace even in life's worst moments. This isn't paranoia, it's financial maturity. When you have cash on hand, you don't need loans, you don't panic, and you don't make fear-driven decisions. It's the difference between reacting and leading your own life. In practice, you need to set a clear protection target. The most effective recommendation, used by financial planners in the US, is to keep between 6 and 12 months' worth of essential expenses saved. This creates an invisible force that protects you from unexpected events, market downturns, and emotional fluctuations. Without that reserve, any problem becomes a crisis. With it, everything becomes a strategic decision. It's not about hoarding, it's about building a shield. There's also a huge psychological impact. When you have a solid reserve, your brain operates with more calm. The amygdala, responsible for threat responses, becomes less active. Your reasoning improves. Your decision-making becomes more logical. You sleep better, think better, and see opportunities that once seemed impossible. In other words, your reserve doesn't just buy security, it buys clarity. Here's the most strategic point. Idle money isn't wasted money. It's your insurance against storms. Many people avoid building a reserve because they're afraid it won't yield returns. But they forget the real cost is relying on credit when things go wrong. In times of crisis, those with liquidity have options. Those without it take what they can get. Quiet millionaires call this operational autonomy, the ability to act without desperation. Another important point is understanding that this fund isn't just for emergencies, it's for real life. It's so you can say no to a toxic job, no to a project that doesn't make sense, no to situations that drain your energy. It's the reserve that gives you courage. When you have a financial cushion, you don't negotiate your peace. You don't settle for scraps. You don't trade freedom for short-term security. At the end of the day, building a reserve is about building self-respect. It's you saying to yourself, "I've got my own back." It's a quiet gesture of personal leadership. And few people understand how deeply this changes your posture in the world. When you know you're safe, you think more clearly, act with more confidence, and live with greater inner authority. Wealth isn't the absence of problems. It's the ability to face them with calm, control, and strategy. 6. Spend on quality, not just the cheapest option. Investment versus consumption. Most people think saving money means always choosing the cheapest option, but the financial elite knows that's an expensive mistake. Buying the cheapest often ends up costing more in the long run. More maintenance, more replacements, more frustration. Quietly wealthy people prefer durable items that serve their purpose for years and demand less mental energy. They understand that quality is a form of investment, not an unnecessary luxury. Before buying anything, ask yourself 2 simple questions. How long will this last? And what's the real annual cost of this item? This turns an emotional decision into a mathematical one. A study by the University of Copenhagen on consumer behavior showed that people who calculate cost per use buy less, spend less, and choose better. This isn't minimalism. It's applied financial intelligence. This logic comes from a mindset pattern called smart capital. It's when you begin to see every purchase as a mini investment of time, energy, and money. Whether it's a chair, a coat, or a course, everything either brings returns or losses. This mindset helps you let go of cheap impulses and make choices that actually add value. It's a silent upgrade in your prosperity mindset. There's also a social impact to this strategy. When you focus on durability, you're not competing in the status race. You automatically exit the game of who looks like they have more and enter the game of who truly lives better. Discreetly wealthy people don't need anyone to know what something costs. Their focus is on comfort, utility, and practical living. That builds a level of stability those chasing appearances never experience. And here's another important point. Spending well reduces stress. A product that breaks all the time didn't save you anything. It just passed the cost on to your patience and your future. When you invest in quality, you invest in peace of mind. A functional, organized, durable environment increases your mental clarity and productivity. High performance starts with the basics: less clutter, less frustration, more functionality. In the end, spending on quality is an act of personal leadership. It's choosing the long term over the short term. It's honoring your time, your energy, and your intelligence. It's deciding that every purchase should serve your freedom, not your ego. That's the difference between consumption and investment. One takes from you, the other builds you. And once you understand this, you begin to grow your wealth quietly, consistently, and intelligently. 7. Continuous financial education and decision-making with criteria. Quietly wealthy people understand something most ignore. Money doesn't grow by luck. It grows through knowledge. They don't rely on guesses, random advice, or financial trends. They prefer data, analysis, and ongoing learning. A 2020 report published on A.R. Karshav analyzed behavioral patterns of the wealthiest individuals and showed that they have a low marginal propensity to consume, meaning a large portion of their income goes to saving and investing, not impulsive spending. This doesn't happen by instinct, but through consistent financial education. In practice, you need a regular financial check-in. It can be weekly or monthly, but it must exist. It's the moment when you review your cash flow, debts, investments, and goals. This review creates clarity and prevents you from living on autopilot, making mistakes that could have been avoided with 5 minutes of observation. High performers treat their finances like they treat their health. They monitor, adjust, and improve continuously. That consistency builds a powerful mindset. You start seeing money as a tool, not as a destination. You learn about risk, liquidity, economic cycles, compound interest, diversification, and once that enters your mental framework, decisions that used to be stressful become logical. You stop reacting to the market and start acting based on clear criteria. This reduces anxiety and increases your ability to make high-impact decisions. There's also a key psychological effect. The more you understand, the less you fall for trends. People without knowledge follow the crowd. People with knowledge follow strategy. And in the financial world, following trends is the same as emotional volatility. When the market goes up, euphoria. When it drops, panic. But those who understand the game maintain calm, consistency, and long-term vision, key traits of the financial elite. Another essential point: continuous financial education isn't about reading 1,000 books. It's about building small learning routines that compound over time. One article a day, one technical video a week, one analysis a month. That sum creates what economists call cognitive compounding. Each informed decision avoids a costly mistake, and each avoided mistake protects your wealth. Knowledge becomes silent multiplication. In the end, those who study the game master the game. Continuous financial education builds internal power, confidence, and clarity. You stop being someone who hopes the future will work out and become someone who intentionally builds it. Every decision starts to carry weight, logic, and purpose. And that's what separates those who merely dream of wealth from those who actually achieve prosperity. Criteria, consistency, and applied intelligence every single day.